grab a bottle or snap a tab. It's time for Antebrewum South Georgia Beer Report, South Georgia's first craft beer podcast with Ryan and Danny. Hey, it's Danny from Antebrewum. On this episode, we interview Chris Jones, one of the owners and founders of Georgia Beer Company, Valdosta's first craft brewery. Chris has some important announcements regarding their progress, and we talk a lot about their upcoming plans and various beers. We plow through a Freedom Fighter 4-pack in 4 or 6 minutes or so, brought to you by 5 Points Fine Wine and Spirits. And we ask Chris some silly questions in our new segment, Cask Me Another. So crack a beer, and we hope you enjoy. Hey everybody, welcome to Antebrewum South Georgia Beer Report, our second podcast. I'm Danny.
I'm Ryan.
And we are here with Chris Jones, one of the owners of Georgia Beer Company.
Woo. Good afternoon, everybody.
So let's get started. What are you guys drinking?
I've got Hoplicity. It's a double IPA from 3 Taverns. Picked up a can, and this is just a good, solid Georgia beer. I think it's 9%, so it's a little up there, but it's one of the ones that came down in kegs a few months ago, maybe even last year, and it came out again in a can, and it's just a great stuff, 3 Taverns, so that's what I'm drinking. What you drinking, Chris?
I've got Scofflaw, and it's their Double Jeopardy. I'm pretty sure it's up in the double digits on the ABV.
Yeah, 10.5.
So I'll probably just have this one today, and then maybe switch to something else.
One's all you need.
I have Victory Hazelnut Porter, actually, from a crowler I got last weekend and didn't drink, so I figured I'd crack it up. Since you both went strong and hoppy, I went low and dark, I guess.
Low and dark.
It's very nutty, just like us.
Talking to that cup, Danny. Makes for good podcasting. All right.
Hello, beer.
Well, we want to say welcome to everybody who's listening, either for the first or second time. This is our second podcast, and something cool kind of happened to me yesterday. I went into Craft on Draft to get a growler, and I met a couple people, and one of them actually listened to the podcast and said, "Hey, I know you. I saw you on the internet." And
Ryan's famous.
I am super famous, but of course, socially awkward. I didn't get his name, but it seemed like a really nice guy, and it was really cool to see somebody who actually cares about South Georgia beer. And I told him that we were going to do an interview with Chris, and that we are super excited to have some more craft beer down here. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And the thing we really want to stress is that it's your show too. Whatever you guys want to talk about, whatever you want news about, we really want to make it a community type podcast. So we are happy to have people paying attention, and we want to do great things, and we want you involved. So who are we thanking this week?
Yeah, speaking of community, first let's thank someone who has remained a really cool sponsor, which is 5 Points Fine Wine and Spirits. 5 Points Fine Wine and Spirits. I always say 5. One of our most popular segments last month was the seasonal 6-pack in 6 minutes. We're not quite going to do that. We're going to do a Freedom Fighter 4-pack in 6 minutes, where the three of us will have a minute and a half to talk about each beer, and all of them are military related, which we'll talk about why later. Big thanks, as always, to Daniel Opal of Opal Designs. If you need a graphic designer in town, he is awesome. He made the Antebrewum logo that you see on our website and iTunes and SoundCloud and everywhere else we posted that crap. Not crap, it's great. And thanks to our Patreon subscribers, Berg and my mom. We would love to have
Thanks,
some more.
Danny's mom.
We would love to have some more Patreon subscribers, because we need to pay for website stuff, and actually we're going to run out of SoundCloud space real quick to host the podcast. So that's going to start costing us. So donate to us on Patreon.
You may donate more than Danny's mom, but he will never love you more.
Truth.
All right.
Well, anyway, welcome Chris from Georgia Beer Company.
Thank you. It's really great to be here. I was very excited. I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
We have too.
So for anybody out there listening that doesn't know, maybe people from out of town, because I know a lot of out-of-towners listen on iTunes and stuff. What is Georgia Beer Company? What is that? Why are you here?
Okay. I'm here because my partners and I, have been planning South Georgia's first brewery for about the last 3 years. And we kind of got together. I think we were sitting around one day, and one of my partners posed the question, and a lot of people have this conversation when they're just hanging out. It could be family or friends, and it was, what would you do if you won the lottery? And his answer was, I would buy a brewery, and then we could all quit these jobs that we don't like, and we could work together making beer for a living.
Heck yeah.
And it was really just a joke at that point. I mean, nobody really took that seriously. But then as the time went on, we kind of realized that, hey, this isn't necessarily a joke. If we want to do this for real, we don't have to win the lottery. Let's just make it happen. Let's work our tails off. Let's do a lot of research. Let's learn how to brew, because at that point none of us were really brewing seriously. And let's move forward and make it happen. So we started reading every book we could get our hands on. We started watching every YouTube video we could find. We started brewing as much beer as we could possibly brew. And we basically pooled our resources and bought as much brewing equipment and supplies as we could, and just brewed.
Awesome.
And started planning, and here we are. We're closer and closer. We know it's kind of been a drawn-out process. I think we first made our online presence known probably about 2 years ago, so there's probably a lot of people wondering whether or not Georgia Beer Company is actually going to come to fruition. But one of the reasons I wanted to come today was to guarantee everybody that yes, that's going to happen.
We're going to talk about that. And I think the back of my shirt, I posted a picture on Snapchat earlier, and it says established 2014.
That's right.
Yeah.
And all good things to those who wait. And I think your brewery is going to be a turning point for South Georgia beer, because we really don't have a brewery that represents us. And when we were talking about this podcast and how important it is, that's one of the things we said is like, we're going to have a brewery soon. We need to spread the word, keep the enthusiasm up. So I personally can't speak for Dan, though I'm sure he was super excited about hearing that this brewery is coming down. And
I don't really like beer.
Me neither.
Wrong podcast. So you talked a little bit about how you get started, but tell us why Valdosta? Why South Georgia?
Well, all three of our founders are VSU alumni. So we actually met many years ago while in college at Valdosta State.
Go Blazers.
Go Blazers. I teach at VSU, and how about that win this weekend? I don't know if you guys follow the football team, but
won by 1 point.
They won by 1 point. I think in like the last minute of the game. It was really exciting, and that's on top of the upset over West Georgia last weekend. Whoop. Anyway.
Any true fan will know it doesn't, or how does the line go from Fast and Furious? Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile.
Yes,
winning's
right.
winning.
That's right.
And
Blazers always win by an inch.
What does Ricky Bobby say? If you're not first, you're last.
That's right.
Inspirational quotes.
I am the master.
Inspirational quotes from mediocre movies.
I'm the master of getting off topic. Speaking of mediocre movies like Fast and the Furious, I saw a thing recently that was like pictures of 3 celebrities, and it was like, if you could bring one back, who would it be? And it was like Prince, Robin Williams, and the guy from Fast and the Furious.
Paul
Walker. No offense to his #1 fans or those movies, but I was like, what? One of these things is not even close to the other.
That's a weird thing to ask people.
Anyway, so you were all VSU alumni or college students.
Right. So then we realized that. Actually, I read a report that says the average American lives within 10 miles of their nearest brewery, that might not be the exact number, but it was closer than us, which is 140 miles for the nearest Georgia
not even
brewery.
Close.
Yeah. And
I'd say the closest breweries to us are actually Tallahassee.
Right.
So I want to say not even in the state.
The closest brewery period is Tallahassee.
Yeah.
And there's a couple there, and then the closest Georgia brewery is, I believe, Macon Beer Company in Macon. And so not only did we look at it from a strategic standpoint, who was underrepresented in Georgia's beer market, but also it was convenient that we were from here. One of my partners, grew up here. He played high school football, and then the other two, myself and the other partner, we went to college here. So we already had a pretty good established network. We worked in bars and restaurants to pay our way through college. So we kind of, still have some friends in the industry, the customer service industry and the service industry. And beyond that, everything just makes sense. So it's, Valdosta is on Interstate 75, so it's South Georgia's artery that feeds into Florida. We've got, plenty of rail. We've got the Moody Air Force Base, which is a great Department of Defense installation. We've got several colleges. So not only on paper was Valdosta just the ideal place, but for us, it has that nostalgic value of where we, our formative years, if you will.
Absolutely.
So it just, there was nothing about Valdosta that didn't say, build your brewery here.
Yeah.
Then
I was screaming it.
Then once we got on board and we started engaging with the city, the Economic Development Agency, the Downtown Development Agency, they were just excited as we were. So that just reinforced our belief that Valdosta was the right place to be.
Fantastic.
Heck yeah.
And so the thing that we are most excited about is apparently you have some big announcements for us.
Yeah,
so what's new at the brewery?
Yeah, tell us about your progress. What's exciting to tell the public here?
All right. Well, one of the biggest benchmarks for a brewery is location. You've either got to rent a space, you've got to buy a building and renovate it, or something along those lines. So we searched for a location for a long time. And then once we started engaging with the city and with the Downtown Development Authority, the Valdosta Lowndes Industrial Authority, they made us aware of a building that the city owns that has been vacant for 25, 24 years. It was built around the turn of the century, so it's right around 100 years old. And when you look at this building, it just screams brewery. And
I have been there secretly because you told us in advance, and it's awesome. But keep going.
Okay,
I'm excited.
So we started talking with the city, and we told them that we were interested in this building, and we started looking at it. I think the first time that we saw it was probably 2 years ago. We went and looked at this building and just fell in love with it immediately. It's got 20-foot walls. It's all brick, and I'm talking like 20-inch thick brick walls. So it's a castle. So if we get attacked and cannons fire at the brewery, it will probably hold up for a good portion.
Is it zombie resistant?
It is very zombie
All
resistant.
right, you know where I'll be.
When the other pirate breweries come to attack with cannons, you'll be prepared. So, can you tell us where it is yet?
We can.
Okay.
It is on South Brigg Street in downtown Valdosta.
I know exactly where that is.
It is the original water utilities building for the city of Valdosta.
Very nice. Very nice.
So it's called the Waterworks building.
Okay.
And
So it's like one of the important things I think to the layman is like it's just off downtown.
right.
It's in the downtown area.
It's literally 15, 20 feet from Highway 84. So for someone traveling on the interstate that wants to get off and try a local brewery, they can hop off Interstate 75 on 84 and literally take 2 turns
Exit 16.
and be at the brewery.
That's fantastic.
Speaking of which, this is the most exciting part for me because, as we said last month, we're broadcasting from my house in beautiful downtown Valdosta in the historic district, and I can literally see the building from my driveway, which might be a blessing and a
Which means
curse.
you're going to have a Danny problem.
Yes.
It's not a bad problem to have.
No.
Me and the missus can walk to the brewery anytime we want.
And I think that's great for
Or walk
downtown.
home, which is just as
Walk
important.
home, which is
Walk
more
home
important.
is more important, yes.
Now, if only we could actually drink at breweries in Georgia, but that's maybe a topic for a different podcast.
You can still, they're getting there.
That might need a series of podcasts to fully
They're
explore.
getting there. They're getting there. So
Let's just say I'm going to get my fill of tours and samples
There you go.
from Georgia Beer Company.
One of the things we hope to do is work within the confines of Georgia legislative laws to make it where every time, so if you want to get off work every day and come have one beer, that doesn't mean you have a cabinet full of Georgia Beer Company glassware.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy a glass every time you come to have a beer. And we think that within the system as it is set up now, that we can find a creative approach to best serve our customers. And then hopefully, once Georgia makes some changes and catches up with the rest of the country, that we'll already be well positioned to take advantage of that.
Well, and I think they're getting there. I think people are starting to recognize that the beer craze or whatever it's called is not going away. That people want that local neighborhood place. It's safer. It's better for the economy. And I know. I think one of the things you can talk about is what you're planning on doing as far as capacity. Was it just going to be a Valdosta, or if you're going to be distributing? But I think people are recognizing that it has a great economic impact, great social impact, and so it's great that you're going to be in downtown because I think downtown is back on the rise, and so
That's probably
really
part
shows
of
your
this,
support,
yeah.
for the city and the community of Valdosta. So that's great.
It's almost being well traveled because of my job. It's actually weird living in a town where even if I don't go to a brewery, it's weird now going in Valdosta. You go to a restaurant, you go to a local bar, and there's not a local tap.
Right.
That's getting to the point where that's weird in America.
Right.
And I go to Savannah, Tallahassee, Destin, all these places all have local breweries where Jacksonville has a million. You can't, like you in Savannah or whatever, I go there a lot now, you can't go to a restaurant or bar without there being local tap handles, like literally local, like made in Savannah tap handles. And I'm glad that you guys are coming to change that, hopefully.
Several of my bartender and restaurant manager friends tell me that literally every single day, somebody getting off the interstate to eat will ask, "What's your local beer?" And they have to say, "Well, we have Georgia beer. Maybe it's something from Atlanta or Savannah, but we don't have any local beer."
Yeah.
And we hope to be the solution to what we see as a problem.
That's a dire need.
And we keep interrupting. Anything else about the building, the location?
Okay, so we had a huge benchmark that we met recently. We had our hearing with the Valdosta Historical Preservation Commission, which they are kind of the key holders to building anything new in the downtown area. And they unanimously approved our proposal as proposed. So we don't have to make any changes to it.
Good.
And everybody on the board voted yes to accept it as
Yes.
proposed.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Way to go, government.
Thank you, Valdosta.
Way to go.
But also, that wouldn't have been possible had it not been for all the effort from the Valdosta Lowndes Industrial Authority, from the Downtown Development Authority, from our awesome architect, Rob Evans at IPG, who's put in a ton of work, which actually that's another announcement. We met with our architect and his entire team of engineers this past week, and they have started really finalizing HVAC, plumbing, electrical plans, really getting everything finalized for the renovations to start. And as we kind of have drug this out for so long and people are wondering if we're ever actually going to open, we'd like to remind everybody that, all of that stuff has to happen, because right now this building is basically a shell. It's a beautiful shell, but we have to put all the guts inside of it. And
yeah, I've never been inside with you guys, but I've seen some pictures from the VSU videos or something that you guys posted, and it was just like dirt floor and weeds, you know. But man, it looks cool on the outside.
It looks beautiful,
and it's gonna look awesome on the inside.
And so you were talking a little bit about like the style of the brewery. Can you talk about what it's going to look like inside? What's your vision?
Sure. So the brewery, like I said, was the Waterworks building. So it was literally a watering hole. So people would come up maybe in their horse and buggy or maybe in their their car, and they would trade empty barrels of water for full barrels of water. And we want to change that into a figurative watering hole. So it's got these great 20 foot high brick, huge arched pane windows. And we want to maintain as much of that historical integrity as possible. So we want to do.
By the way, those of you listening on iTunes and YouTube and stuff, we're going to get some pictures and links from Chris and the GBC team, and we'll have links down below for you to look at this stuff.
Right. Yeah. And so we want to kind of pay homage to the building's history. So all of the interior, like the tap room, for instance, one of our Kickstarter. One of the goals from our Kickstarter campaign, which was successful, thank you everybody who contributed to Kickstarter.
That's where I got this shirt.
That's right.
We haven't forgotten our mission, which was to build an awesome tap room.
Yep.
And the tap room is going to be, I think, one of the best looking tap rooms in the state of Georgia. It's going to have a very industrial feel, but then at the same time kind of an old Georgia feel. So think corrugated pipe meets rusty tin and tongue and groove siding.
Sweet.
We're really looking forward to it. We think it's going to be an awesome place for people from Valdosta or for folks traveling up and down the interstates to get off and have a beer or two and just relax and enjoy South Georgia's first brewery.
I'm excited for that because my wife and I were traveling recently and to a city that has multiple breweries, and we were kind of like, we only had time to go to one. And one of the things she said was, can we not go to, no offense to these types of places, especially if they have good beer, but one of the things she said was, can we just not go to one of those places where they just like open the door of a warehouse and it's hot and it's dirty and it's like just a brewery that happens to have some taps. And so, yeah, I'm excited to have an actual cool place to go hang out.
And so, yeah, it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait to be able to take my wife on a date to a brewery and just hang out and have a good time. And
we've actually received, even though we're not open yet, we've received phone calls and emails for people wanting to have rehearsal dinners, wedding receptions. at the brewery, and we're excited that this building is big enough and kind of has that aesthetic to it that's something that we hope to offer. So corporate business parties, any kind of event that you can think of, and in addition to all of our philanthropic activities that we hope to do at the brewery. 5Ks that start and end at the brewery, charity events at the brewery. We think the building will provide such a great stage to do those sorts of things.
So I think probably one of the big questions on everybody's mind, and you surely don't have a definitive answer to this, but when, or do you have any other sort of progress announcements that can maybe give us somewhat of an idea, or anything else you want to tell the general public about that?
So coming up, the next couple of steps in the process is we have to propose our project to the city council, who has to vote yes to basically donate the building. Then the Valdosta Lowndes Industrial Authority will be the ones who develop that building and renovate it into a brewery.
Okay.
And so because there's that much, public involvement and government involved, it will take a little bit longer than typical. We don't have a bucket of money to dump into a building and just open up. But we think that it would be well worth the wait. I guess a long way to answer your question is we hope to start renovations in 45 days.
Wow, that's awesome.
Like from now?
45 days from now, we hope to be at least starting the demo process. So clearing out the building, because right now the fire department uses the building as storage, and they also have a really great public outreach program where they repair bicycles for kids in the community, and then they also have a large bike giveaway program. And that's something that we're kind of displacing that project, so we want to help contribute to furthering that somehow. But so the demolition phase will start. They'll start clearing it out. But within 45 days, that should have cleared all the government hurdles and all the red tape to move forward. Fantastic. And then we have, at best, 5 months of renovations and construction, and at worst, probably realistically more like 7 months of renovation and construction. So that puts us into spring of 2017, realistically. And we know that on our website we've thrown a lot of dates out there. And I was telling one of my partners that we read these books that said, in planning a brewery, that literally it will take everything will take 5 times longer than you think it will. And we kind of dismissed that, like, no, we're way more efficient than that. We're gonna knock things out. But in retrospect, literally, probably 7 times longer. Everything just takes longer.
Well, it's not always you; it's all the things you have to do.
Right.
But it's totally going to be worth it. So that's. Yes. But even just hearing that working on the buildings happening in 45 days is just great.
Those floor plans that we went over with our architect, they gets us excited.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll kind of stagnate off a little bit and kind of get down that we're not open yet, and we'll just drive by the building and sit in the parking lot and look at it and think, that's going to be a brewery soon. So we need to get back home and get to work.
So the other big question besides when is let's talk about your beers. What are you going to be focused on? Distribution, local, special stuff, flagships. Talk about that.
All right. Well, we plan on opening with a 10-barrel brew house, 2-vessel, with double-sized fermenters so that we can do double brew days to fill fermenters. And we really tossed around bottle versus can for a long time. But our personal belief is that cans are the best medium for the beer, for both the consumers and for the product. It really protects the beer. It keeps the light out. It keeps the oxygen out.
Yep.
It's more ergonomic. You can pack more cans into a cooler than you can bottles. You can take coolers to places you can't take bottles because of the glass.
We live pretty close to beaches. A lot of people have pools down here. A lot of hunters.
Right.
And man, that makes life easier.
A lot of pools. If you want to take your beer to your local apartment complex pool, you can't take glass, but you can take cans.
A couple episodes from now, we're gonna have our friend Sour Carl on.
Sour Carl,
mean old Sour Carl, who you know.
Oh
Carl.
yeah, I hadn't seen Carl in a while.
We're gonna have like a sour tasting where he's mean about everything in Sour Carl. Anyway, he has a pool now, and so canned beer. Yeah.
And then, so to accomplish that canned distribution, we're going to be using a mobile canning solution at first, because a canning line is several $100,000s, and unfortunately, none of us have deep pockets, and especially working with the city, we have to be as frugal as possible. And so we think for the first couple of years, using a mobile canning solution would be the best way to get our beers in cans out into the market, in addition to kegs, obviously. And then we'll have the on-site, not sales, but on-site
tour
sampling.
Samples, yes.
And you mentioned some of our flagships. So one of our goals, being in South Georgia, is to kind of highlight the tastes of South Georgia. So we want to use as many local ingredients as possible.
Fantastic.
One of my favorite beers that we brew, and I'm probably going to you guys are probably going to have different ways to say this, is a chocolate-covered pecan porter. Now there's the pecan versus pecan.
Oh,
So
no.
no matter how you
Down
say
here it's pecan.
no
right?
matter how you say it, somebody's going to disagree with you.
It's
But
pecan.
the way I look at it is I've visited pecan orchards, pecan farms, and if the folks who are growing it and making their living off of it say pecan. Then I'm going to say pecan. So,
See, but I've gone to pecan orchards, and they don't get along at all.
right.
No, I'm from
So-
the Midwest, but I've lived here even before I moved to Georgia. I lived in Florida for like 4 years, so I don't remember. I feel like where I'm from, they say pecan. What was the other one?
Well, I'll
Pecan,
put it this way:
pecan.
if somebody orders a chocolate-covered pecan porter or chocolate-covered pecan porter at the brewery, they're going to get the same beer.
I feel like chocolate-covered pecan porter rolls off the tongue better.
Right. And so the reason I mentioned that particular beer is it uses local roasted pecans from the South Georgia Pecan Company. It features raw honey from within 20 miles of Valdosta, as well as cane syrup from within 20 miles of Valdosta.
That's awesome.
I know a guy that is getting into beekeeping and might be a future honey provider for you.
We'd love that. Absolutely.
He does it.
We need some good quality honey.
I love that you're using local honey.
That's
I love that
not
you're
the
using-
beer that we brought today, though. So
We'll
we
talk
actually
about what
ran
we're
out
about
of
to
that
drink
beer.
because with the fresh ingredients, we wanted to hear. We asked Chris if he would bring a beer for us to sample because if we're going to talk about beer, we need to be drinking it.
Absolutely.
So what do we got
Especially
today?
local beer.
What am I about to enjoy?
So we call this Midnight Train. It's a coffee milk stout.
Maine, Georgia.
Exactly. And so we used cold brew coffee from the Beanery right here in Valdosta on Bay Tree, and it was cold brewed.
Love the beanery.
Cold brewed the day before.
Do you remember what
we
bean or
purchased it.
blend you got?
It was a medium roast, so I don't remember the specific bean, but we didn't want anything. We just kind of wanted to run midline with it because this was our first experiment with a coffee milk stout. So the coffee definitely comes out. When I taste it, that's the first thing I get is just a slight bitterness from the coffee.
In a good way, though.
And unfortunately for this particular beer, that's the only local ingredient we use, but it's a great ingredient because it really kind of defines the beer for me anyway. Is that
There's probably
coffee.
not a lot of like local lactose makers.
We got a lot of cows.
But they probably don't sell like the lactose you use in beer. That'd be cool. Maybe you could get like the Brooks County.
I guess you
What's
could.
that dairy down
Brooks
in
County
84?
Dairy.
Brooks County Dairy to make you some beer lactose.
I would say
somehow.
first experiment very successful. This is great.
Well, thank you very
Yeah.
much.
The coffee comes out, and it really is kind of a cold brew coffee. A little bit of the sweetness, and you get the lactose in there too. But it's very very good milk stout.
We did the math, and it's 1/87th coffee.
It tastes
all you need.
not like 1/87th of the beer. It's a coffee, but I love coffee beer. And my wife and I were talking as we were driving down here about like South Georgia is so unique because there's so many different sorts of ingredients you can put in. We have so many different fruits and
Yeah, tell us more local stuff you want to make.
Okay, so one of our beers that we made over the summer,
This is great, by the way.
thanks, cheers, was a peach shandy. So one of my partners brewed up basically just kind of a rudimentary blonde ale. Nothing extraordinary, just kind of middle of the road, not definitive, but just your normal blonde ale. And then we went to Morven, which is a huge peach producer
Oh, yeah.
in this part of the state. And
Yes.
with some of their extra product, they make peach lemonade. And with the lemonade that you can get off the side of the road at their little stands, you can actually see the chunks of peaches
Yeah.
in the lemonade. So
The
we mixed
legit
it.
stuff.
We mixed it at a particular ratio so our blonde ale with the peach lemonade and made a shandy out of it, and it came out at around 3.2% alcohol with a great sweet light peach flavor.
That first podcast we asked if you had any left because we wanted to try some of that. But
Yeah,
I'll
we
try
saw,
it next
we
time.
saw that
Oh,
you posted
peach
on
shandy.
Facebook or something. I
Oh,
bet that
man.
killed. You brought it to an event or something?
We did.
I bet that killed.
We had a friend who had a little private event, and we took it there, and it was in the middle. It was July, I think, so it was like
Oh.
98 degrees outside.
So you tell me I'm gonna have to wait for next summer to try this.
Well, peaches are a seasonal
This is true.
crop, so
This
it
is
will
true.
be a seasonal beer.
I got a funny story about Morven since you mentioned it. We went up there to my kids and I to get some ice cream because they have that great peach ice cream, and we picked up some peaches. And so we were getting our ice cream, and there was an Abraham Lincoln impersonator who was getting ice cream, and his license
Was
plate.
he working or was he just
No, he
there
was
to
just-
get ice cream?
You know,
In
he
costume?
he was in costume. I don't think he left it. But the best part was his license plate. It was a Georgia license plate. It was Abe, but he lived in Lincoln County, so
Wow.
his license plate said Abe Lincoln.
Oh my god.
Brave man being this far down south though.
He wasn't filming.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't filming a Gary Johnson promotional video.
No,
was he?
well, not that I saw. He could have been doing any number of crazy
I
things.
don't even know what that means.
No.
Gary
Yeah, we're not. That's a different podcast.
No politics in the beer podcast.
This is true.
Oh, okay.
You know Gary Johnson.
Now you know
clicked.
what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Old dead Abe Lincoln.
I'm not particularly into politics and stuff. But anyway,
Back to
So,
beer.
so what about like employment opportunities? What do you see? Because it's going to have a great impact for the community. So, what do you see as far as that?
after you hire me as a part-time bartender, then what other opportunities?
Okay.
Just kidding.
Whenever the Georgia Department of Revenue kind of puts some teeth to the resolution and everything that kind of defined some laws that the Georgia legislature passed, that let us know that we would need more people than we thought right out of the gate. So we'll definitely need some part-time folks to work the bar and serve the beers. And
Awesome.
we'll be looking for people who not only have an appreciation for craft beer, they like the process, they understand it, so they can talk about it. But then we're also looking for a head brewer. We've been doing that for a while now, and
Where can they find that? Pro Brewer?
we have an ad up on Pro Brewer, or if they wanted to contact us directly, they can find our contacts on Georgia
I
Beer.
have a lot of beer connections on Facebook, so hey guys.
GeorgiaBeerCompany.com or GeorgiaBeerCo.com, or you can just send me an email at chris@GeorgiaBeerCo.com.
Now, isn't it awesome?
You could
trying to
come-
hire a
you
head
could
brewer? Do
come
they have
live
like
with
brew
me.
offs where like, all right, you all need to send me 6 different beers you brewed? I mean, is it like a contest?
Well, not so much. So obviously, we're going to be a very small business, so we will be.
Can you move the car? Are you guys in my driveway? Yeah, you're blocking somebody. Sorry, gang.
We're in the very back. We went all the way to the back.
There's a guy that lives here that needs to get out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the big things, we're
Keys.
we're a small business, and so it would be very much a family, So there will have to be a really good, we'll have to really jive with whoever works for us, because we're going to be spending so much of our lives with these people that it will become a family. So
Absolutely.
getting along and just kind of having a good feeling, would be very important. Obviously, we would prefer somebody with both experience and education. You can't always, get that, but really just trying some of their beers,
Yep.
making sure that they're easygoing like
I
us.
imagine it's a hard balance between being very precise and technical to get everything right, but also being kind of inventive and thinking outside the box to go forth with some of the things you were talking about, the peach shandies or different sorts of stuff using fresh ingredients. So.
Right. Something that we're going to get into eventually that just with our level of expertise we haven't done yet is, we obviously want to meet the demands of the market and keep consumers happy. So sours and barrel-aged beers are definitely in the lineup.
I know a guest brewery you could have for some kick-ass Berliner Weisses.
Come on. Right now we're brewing...
Award-winning Keyline Berliner Weiss.
There you go.
I got a bunch of medals.
Right now we're brewing our current system, which will be our pilot system, is a 1-barrel. It's called the Ruby Alpha Ruby from Ruby Street Brewing Company out of Fort Collins, Colorado.
Hey, I know some people from Fort Collins.
And it's an amazing semi-automated little pilot brewery, and we can do a barrel at a time, but we typically just do 10 barrels at a
That's
time.
the one
or,
that's
10
the one I've
gallons at a
seen,
time.
right?
Right.
Yeah, I've been there while they were doing some brewing stuff. It's awesome.
And then we're also using SS Brewtech's conical fermenters, and we're really
Super cool. Those were really
very very satisfied with their fermenters.
Well, we should probably jump to the next segment. Maybe one more question, and then we got to jump to our next couple segments because we're going to try to keep it under an hour this time. I think the other question I like from our list for you is, what can the community do to help, or in what ways can we support you? Because I know like if you like my Georgia Beer Company shirt, which also has their full logo on the back.
By the way, you need to make some of those for the bigger folk.
Okay. Well,
Hey,
we-
can we
See,
get
my
these? I want one of these.
this actually, so I basically just bought a shirt at Walmart, and
I have that shirt. I'm pretty sure the
Yeah.
Dickies work
That's
shirt.
awesome.
Yeah.
Took it to the local. Actually, we took it to the boardwalk. So shout out to the boardwalk, and they just embroidered it up for me.
Sweet.
And it's
Fantastic.
kind of like my semi-professional work shirt
Yeah.
slash
Brewers love those
podcast.
shirts.
So I do. I love the
Uniform.
koozie. My wife wears the shirt from when we donated, but
So speaking
you
of
need
that,
some bigger shirts for us heftier bag.
we'll take that into
Hopefully
consideration.
look getting less
no,
happy.
Ryan, you and I will just keep losing weight, and then
All of
Well,
our
I could do that too. That would probably be easier.
all of our products. So basically, we've been for the last 2 or 3 years, we've been spending a lot of our own money, and we haven't been making any money, which is part of any business startup.
Yeah.
You know, that's run of the mill stuff. But if you want to participate in it and you want to help us kind of keep the momentum up, you can go to georgiabeercompany.com or georgiabeerco.com and click on online store. We have a little bit of everything available. And actually, if you'll hand me that bag right there, I brought some samples. You guys can keep what we
Ooh, all
brought.
right.
We've got both men and women's clothing. This was all kind of spurred from our Kickstarter campaign. That's it. And so we kind of liked it so much that we kept getting the stuff done. So we got some classic trucker hats.
Heck yeah.
We've got
That's sweet.
different colors of shirts. We've got your camouflage koozies, your black and white koozies.
sweet.
So the women's right now is kind of limited right now, but we have women's V-necks in both red and charcoal, which the red
Ooh.
kind of shouts out to, you know, VSU, go Blazers. And then for men, we have the military green. I'm a veteran myself. I've been in the Coast Guard for 13
Oh, yeah,
years.
we gotta talk
so
about that.
anything military, I'm all about.
Very good.
And then charcoal gray, which is kind of one of our
Hey,
colors.
that's the one I
Very
chose.
good.
I freaking love this shirt.
All that stuff is available at Georgia Beer Company or georgiabeerco.com, and you know, we think they're pretty competitive prices, and that kind of stuff helps us buy grain, buy yeast, can continue to experiment, you know, lawyer fees, administrative fees, all the puzzle pieces to getting a brewery open.
Absolutely.
Um,
And it's great because I don't wear it, but my wife got a shirt, and when we're out, people ask like, "Well, where's Georgia Brew Company? Where?"
I wear-
Cara wore it to,
I get asked
to,
all
a,
the
to a
time.
festival in Kennesaw, and lots of people were asking. So we were, kind of talking about it's coming down the pipeline. It's going to be in Valdosta. It's going to be South Georgia Brewery.
That's
so
cool.
we are super excited for that. All right, so I've got a segment that I'm piloting. You're our first guest. This is called. It's very NPR inspired, I guess. Cask Me Another.
Cask Me Another.
Get it?
See, no shortage of puns here on the Antebrewum. See, it's a pun.
I was in Albany yesterday, and I said that our podcast was called Antebrewum, and someone was like, "I see what you did there."
Yep.
And I'm like, "Well, I'm glad you got it, because when Ryan made up that name, I didn't get it."
It's gonna haunt me forever. Okay,
So
so I'm gonna
Cask
ask
Me
you a
Another.
bunch of quick questions. I don't want you to think about them.
All
I
right,
want you to
Cask-
spit out the first answer.
Cask Me Another.
All right, Cask Me Another. All right, and there's no wrong answers.
Okay.
Well, there might be some wrong answers, but let's not go there. Okay, here we go. Ready? If you were an off flavor, what off flavor would you be?
Diacetyl.
Buttery. Buttery. I could have guessed that.
That's one L of a question.
Ha!
Hey, we're the host
You're
here.
gonna fit
We're
right
the
in
host here. Worst Southern food to try to make into a beer.
Ooh, fried okra.
I thought you were
Yes,
gonna
that
say.
would
I
be
thought you were
bad.
gonna say like crawfish boil or something. I was gonna be like, people already did it.
Chitlins would have been an
Cheese-
easy answer.
yes.
So fried
Oh.
okra.
Cheese grits would be horrible.
People have made grits beers. I think it's okay. No, that's pretty good.
Because fried okra is very gelatinous once you start to cook it down.
This is true. This is true. All right. Most MacGyver way you've ever opened a can or a bottle.
of beer.
MacGyver, probably with my teeth.
Whoa! Really?
I don't have a good answer for that either.
I've done it. I've used a stick.
When I was younger, I had a bunch of friends over at my parents' house, like during the summer, during college, and we were trying to be quiet because we were outside, but we decided to shotgun some beers by, stabbing it with a key and then popping it. And when I stabbed it with a key, I set off my car alarm. And so I was like, we gotta try to be quiet because my parents are asleep. And then it was like, burp, burp. Yeah, anyway.
Smooth move. All right. Beer association. I want you to assign a beer to the famous person. Are you
Craft
ready?
beer or any beer?
Like,
Any beer.
A beer style or a particular brand or.
Either way.
Whatever comes to mind.
Whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
All right. Star of film, Matthew McConaughey.
Ooh, probably a lager.
Very good. All right. Famous home mogul and
Maybe just say the names. Ex-con.
Ex-con, Martha Stewart.
Martha Stewart would definitely be drinking some type of dark chocolatey stout.
I asked my wife these, and she said Dark Lord, which I thought was a pretty good answer.
Especially since she's been hanging out with Snoop Dogg.
Yes,
on
exactly.
the show, so.
Exactly. All right. Hero of the Hudson, Captain Sully Sullenberg.
Ooh, something from Brooklyn
that
Brewing
is.
Company.
Brooklyn Brewing Company. Good answer.
I don't even know who that is.
The hero of the.
I don't know who the next one is. I don't know who the next one is either.
People out in podcast land, I will explain who the hero of the Hudson is to Danny later. He cannot go on this life without knowing who that is. Okay, back to next one. First Lady Martha Washington.
First Lady Martha Washington. So I know that George Washington was an avid home brewer.
This is true.
They were probably making ales back then. Actually, you know what? She'd probably be drinking a cider.
Wow, good answer.
I've had.
Thoughtful.
I think it's
Thoughtful,
George
deep
Washington.
answer.
I've had his beer. There's they released a recipe at some point. A few breweries have made it. It's like it was gross. It was made with like some weird syrup that we don't use anymore.
Wow.
It tasted like pennies. It could have just been the brewery, but.
All right.
I keep looking at our friend that's off camera right now, and then I realize people don't know there's someone sitting there. Hey!
Danny's invisible friend who moved the car. All right.
Yes.
One more. Nobel laureate Bob Dylan.
Ooh. I think something dark and brooding as well. So probably Midnight Train,
I was going to say
coffee milk stout.
a Georgia
Absolutely.
beer. You skipped one of the
The
funniest
times
ones.
they are changing, Dylan.
You skipped one of the funniest ones.
Oh, I did.
Cask Me Another.
Cask you one more. Notorious weirdo and funny man, Pee Wee Herman.
Pee Wee Herman. Something sour.
Something very sour.
Something from Brewdog. It's like it'd be like a sour beer that
Ridiculous.
was like aged in the carcass of a clown's body or something.
I can't
that
top
got
that.
dark.
Ditto.
Dark real quick.
No offense, Brewdog.
All right, two more quick questions.
Weirdos.
You are trapped on the moon, and you have to subsist on one beer. What keg is in your spaceship?
You better say GBC beer.
Absolutely a GBC. We're probably our single hop mosaic IPA.
Good answer. All right, last question. Are you ready?
Yes.
Natty light, natty heavy, or natty just right?
Natty Light.
All right,
Drink it all
very
day.
good.
What is
very
natty
good.
just right?
I don't know. I made these questions yesterday. Doesn't that
Oh.
mean anything?
That's a good. What is your Goldilocks of natty?
Not that I've ever drank a lot of Natty Light in college when I was living off ramen noodles, but you know.
Did you ever
You know what's
cook ramen noodles with natty light as the water? Because nobody's ever done that.
I haven't done that.
It's like Revenge of the Nerds where he puts like a can of beer into the Cheerios.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Speaking of,
that was a good movie.
I didn't know Natty Light was a thing until I moved to the South. Where I'm from, everybody drinks. I'm from Illinois. Podcastees. I don't know. Who
We're
are
the
you listening
podcasters.
out there? We got to think of a term for them.
Listeners?
Like I listened to Chewing It, and they call their listeners the Chew Crew.
Antebrewums?
Ante
Broom nights?
Anyway, everyone where I'm from in Illinois drinks like Busch Light and Keystone Light, but like Natty Light is not a thing at all.
Well, they've also got the, not to keep talking about macro brewed corn lagers, but they have fatty natties, which are, so if you know, what's the Jamaican beer? Red Stripe.
Red Stripe.
So Red Stripe comes in the short little stubby
Oh, yeah,
glass.
yeah, the stubby
I've seen
bottles.
Natural Light in those, and they called them fatty natties.
We're glad you're here, so we don't have to be drinking that. All right, so that was it. Let's talk about our. Are you going to do the sound effect?
Yeah, I'll get my timer up.
Okay.
So in lieu of the
go ahead.
seasonal 6-pack in 6 minutes, this year we have Freedom Fighter 4-pack in 6 minutes, and but it won't be exactly 6 minutes. That's gonna blow. Here.
Hold on.
Or
I got
just
it.
drink
Just drink it, man.
I want to make a comment so bad that I can't right now.
Please don't. All right. Keep
No,
going.
not
Focus,
even what you're
focus,
thinking.
focus,
Not even
focus.
what you're thinking. It won't be 6 minutes in a row because we have more people. So we're gonna re-pour because I didn't have a million glasses for us to use this time. We'll have to re-pour each beer, but
Talk about.
so the way this
Yes,
works,
water right
Chris, is we're gonna set a timer, and every beer that we try, we only have a minute. Usually, we're gonna do a minute and a half this time because there's 3 of us. to talk about the beer.
And who do we have to thank for these wonderful beers?
Yes, let's mention our sponsor again. Once again, thank you for the beers. 5 Points Fine Wine and Spirits.
Yep. And
And
we've got
four military-related beers because our friend Chris here is or was, I don't remember.
So I joined the Coast Guard in 2003, right out of high school.
Which one did we
and
do first?
I've been an active drilling reservist for the last 13 years. I did 4 years of active duty out of those 13 as a reservist, and it's been one of the greatest decisions of my life. I've really enjoyed being a part. What I believe, following a long line of military service with my family was to serve my country, and I thought that the Coast Guard was the best way for me to do that. I love being on the water, and I love the fact that the Coast Guard actually, we help people as well, kind of the domestic side of things.
Absolutely.
So people who are lost or maybe lost at sea or having trouble in the water, we can help those folks as well.
And we appreciate your service and everybody's service. In fact, I think Veterans Day is the 11th usually, and so it is kind of
Always.
seasonal. Well, don't they change on Mondays? Or is
No,
it
that's
always the
Memorial
11th?
Day.
Okay, well,
And we actually plan to, kind of inside of that, have very, very good veterans discounts. So active duty military, retired military, active reserves, and their spouses will get very, very good, not just your typical 10% off kind of discounts, but some really good discounts at the brewery.
That's a good reminder because part of the reason we're doing this also is to remind about our sponsor, 5 Points, on wine and liquor. They have a discount for military people. Unfortunately, not on beer because beer is not very expensive or whatever anyway. But so military people, we thank you all for your service, and 5 Points does as well, and you can get a discount on these wonderful service-related beers.
And
Or not on the beers, but on liquor and wine.
And Valdosta and South Georgia is definitely with Moody, as you mentioned, a great military community. I know where I work, there's a lot of military families, and we really appreciate everything, all the sacrifices they do. So,
My father is retired Army. He was in the Army for 20 plus years, and we lived in Bamberg, Germany. And he still has today plenty of bottled beers from some of the breweries in Bamberg that would brew beers specifically for the troops, the American troops.
Nice.
And that's something that we'd love to do with Moody is brew some beers.
That'd be great.
Just for Moody. Maybe call it something reminiscent of what that particular wing does, or squadron, so on and so forth. And we really want to support our local military.
They deserve it, and they're great beer drinkers. A lot of them, with Air Force, there's a big Air Force presence. Don't cheat. There's a big Air Force presence in Germany, and apparently there's a few beers in Germany too.
A few.
Just a few.
We're
All right,
getting
so
close
you know
on
the
time.
deal.
We should get going.
All right, 5 Points Freedom Fighter 4-pack.
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
we're gonna do 4 beers in 6 minutes this time. We're gonna drink it and review it. Are you ready?
I'm
We don't
ready.
have to-
Do you got the timer?
I got the timer
The
ready.
first one we're drinking,
Start with the South Georgia beer.
the South Georgia beer, is Service Brewing Company Gun Bunny Wit.
Gun
Gun
Bunny
Bunny
Wit.
Wit.
You
I
got
think
timer?
that's like sort of an imperial wit beer.
Ale brewed with Tangelo. Did I say that
Tangelo.
right? Tangelo.
Tangelo.
Tangelo,
It's like a type of
peel,
orange.
and mandarin orange.
Okay.
All right.
So it should
And
be kind of
coriander
a
and all that good stuff.
a
Yep.
citrusy wheat.
So,
Ready?
You got the timer? Ready?
All right. Cheers for our
Cheers.
first one. Timer's on. Big spice in the nose. Coriander.
Very clean beer.
And you probably actually know more about Service Brewing Company than us. You guys have been there.
We did. We had the pleasure
They
of.
are veterans, or they something
Correct. They're,
about
they're,
them.
they're
right?
veteran owned. Kevin Ryan, their I think president, or I'm not sure what his actual title is, but he's kind of the front man. Super nice guy. We went to their grand opening. They have an immaculate brewery, one of the best looking breweries I've ever seen.
This is great. Very clean, solid, easy drinking. A lot of orange. It works well.
I get the spice a lot. on
Definitely
my,
spicy.
Perhaps a little overcarbonated, but that's okay. You're like diving right in. We still got 45 seconds.
I'd rather be
Well,
slightly over than slightly under,
This is true.
unless it's
Especially if the
unless
wit
it's
beer.
a dark heavy beer.
This
Little
style's
effervescence.
good.
Yeah.
Good carbonated.
Yeah.
That's like a nice summer beer. I think this one's like, I don't remember. Last time I had like this really informative like rap sheet about all the beers, and then I was too busy this time. so
Yeah,
I
you
didn't.
didn't help us at all.
I feel like this one was strong or something. Is why it's
Strong?
What's
like,
that-
like
does
it's an
it say that
imperial
in
wheat
the-
beer
I'm
or
looking.
something.
Because I know
5.1.
Okay.
It's a doozy.
You know what? I quit.
So Service Brewing Company, they can the majority of their beers.
Uh-huh.
So there must have been some particular reason for this special release.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they
I
can
wanna
most of there, and then
I
they have
wanna
the
say
special
maybe I've had
bottles.
it on keg before. It's very crisp. I would say this. All right. Next up, we've got
I gotta catch up.
Golden Ale. Nope. We've got
No, you did cherry wheat.
Cherry Wheat.
Pretty sure.
Cherry Wheat by Honor.
So Honor Brewing Company is a brewery in, I was hoping in Denver, Colorado. I don't remember for sure if they are veterans, but
They are.
one of the cool things that they do is proceeds go to the Wounded Warrior Project.
That's awesome.
And each beer comes with, if you look on the cans and bottles, one of the cool things about their brewery, if you like to have the choice, is all their different styles at 5 points. You can pick whether you want bottles or cans.
Yeah, that is cool.
Very cool.
That is
And
cool.
so like they have both, the IPA, the Golden Ale. You can pick whether you want bottles or cans. I got cans just because whatever is
And this
easier.
is a cherry wheat.
This is a
that
Cherry
correct?
Wheat.
And
Yep.
each six pack has like a story about a certain person.
Wow.
That's a wounded warrior.
Very cool.
That is a
They
cool
were
idea.
telling,
I really like
telling
that
me
idea.
that somebody locally or in the area has a son that got featured,
Wow.
and they came in and bought like 12 cases, and then like shared it with military and veterans in the region
Very cool.
to share her son's story and pay tribute to the.
Well,
So anyway, here we go.
Let's
Timer.
check out this cherry
Gone.
wheat.
Woo, woo. I thought you already started the timer.
No, Ryan's done.
I'm
Such
already
a lush.
my Freedom 4 is already done.
I love cherry, so for me personally, I could use some more cherry hit, but still very
It's there a
clean.
little.
It's there. It's subtle, but it's there.
5 Points was telling me that this is one of the better selling Honor beers. Like this one's been popular and people have said it's good.
Some other popular cherry
Easy drinking.
Some other popular cherry beers out there kind of go over the top with the cherry.
Yes.
From the Boston area, but this one doesn't go over the top with the cherry.
The Boston area.
I think
That one's like-
is that the one I called the Darth Vader of craft beer last time,
Maybe.
or was that Dogfish?
No,
The Dogfish
no,
Brewery.
no, it wasn't Dogfish Head.
This is fine too.
No, Dogfish is Gandalf the White of craft beer.
Yeah, that's a pretty good.
No,
good
we
one.
had a Dogfish Head beer as, as one
Okay,
of
yeah.
our seasonals.
This is I could definitely go through a sixer of this in a couple days.
Yeah.
A couple friends. It's
Probably
easy.
still a good hot weather beer.
Yeah, definitely more when it's warm outside, but
It's basically always hot weather.
very
beers.
very it's one of those very clean beers. It's not over the top. Do we get the ABV on this one?
5.5.
5.5. Very good.
I think this would pair really well with like a pork tenderloin.
Let's do golden. Yeah, pork and cherry.
All right, we're gonna pour up so we can go right into the next one. All right,
Boom.
Next we got
Maybe we should have just done it
Honor
now.
Golden Ale. That's how we usually do. Usually like last time.
Fine.
I can see from
each
here
two
that this is a 4.9%.
4.9
ABV.
golden ale.
That's why we have guests. Then they can just do our work
Who
for
know what
us.
they're doing?
We got them poured? All right, here
Yep.
goes the timer. We're
All
on.
right.
So, is it clear?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great color.
Good color.
Nice. Would you say it's golden?
Golden ale. 4.9.
Kind of has a similar smell. I wonder if they use like some of the same grains.
I believe so. I'm gonna pretend to smell, but honestly, this hayweed that's out now, this goldenrod, it's just got me completely. So
There's a lot of golden ale this year.
take my critiques at face value.
This is this is the sort of beer where your Bud Light drinkers, your drinkers like that. This is a good craft beer entry beer. Very just crisp, not gonna blow the doors off your mind.
Yeah, it's easy drinking.
But it's very much has more flavor and profile than like your big boys, your Miller, Bud, Coors. So it's a beer that I think every brewery needs to have because there's always going to be people who want that golden stuff. But
That's something we definitely want to have a kind of a segue beer for folks to kind of make the crossover into craft beer who haven't done so yet.
And finally, the last one is their biggest one, the India Pale Ale 6.8, which is pretty decent sized IPA. All right,
Yeah,
wait for me
okay.
to start the timer.
I'll wait for him to fill his glass. Don't sniff that yet.
This has
Ryan.
been more than 4 minutes. 6 minutes.
Well,
10 minutes.
because we didn't have all the glasses.
I like having to do it in the 6 minutes. I think that's makes the scramble is part of the fun.
Fine. Next time when we have the guys from Thomasville, well, I'll get 1,000,000 glasses for us to fill up.
Perfect.
I really like their.
All right, here goes the timer.
I really like their can design. I'll talk about that in just a minute, but let's get to the taste.
You just really like boots.
Well, my dad being retired in the Army, I can remember as a little kid, he'd come home and I'd help him take his boots off at the end of the
That's
of the
cool.
day. And so seeing the boots, I've taken off boots after being underway for like maybe a sub escort or something after 10 hours. It feels so good to get your boots off. But I like just the red, white, and blue, with the stars. Very patriotic.
And now I'd say it's
like
a
the
classic can.
Pictures.
And really, they're to me, maybe the cherry wheat a little bit off top, but they're classic, clean, crisp beers. They're good drinking beers, just solid stuff. I think anybody, and you feel good about drinking them. I think their mission, the thing that makes them unique is important, and so that's.
It strikes me as though they're good crossover beers, not like overtly hoppy, like the scofflaw here is like, this is a beer nerd double IPA. This is a good crossover IPA.
Yes.
This kind of hits me as a pale ale, but nowadays
Strong pale ale.
there's such a spectrum of pale ale and IPAs, and you can basically interchange some of those definitions.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of leaning in the hoppy direction. I like the hoppier stuff,
Yeah.
but still a good solid
Great.
India pale ale.
And so thank you 5 Points for supporting the segment, being our sponsor. Go pick up some of these beers. Tom will take care of you. Everybody at 5 Points, great place to pick up beer. They got all sorts of good stuff. Their selection is fantastic. We appreciate them supporting the beer community. And when GBC is getting those cans out, 5 Points are going to be.
And 5 Points also, if you're kind of new to craft beer, they have a very knowledgeable staff. So if you have any questions, ask them. They'll point you in the right direction.
Very good.
All right,
We're about at our
about
hour,
at
so
our hour,
let's push social media is what my thing says. Push it.
All right, so don't forget to follow us on Periscope so you can catch us live. And we have a Facebook page, we have Twitter, we have Instagram, and we post stuff here and there about what's coming up and what we're going to be doing. Any of you that follow us on any of that have seen lots of posts from us about this podcast that we just had today with Georgia Beer Company. And most importantly, please check out our Patreon site, patreon.com/Antebrewum, where you can make a one-time donation, or you can subscribe to a monthly donation for as little as $1 a month and subscribers get special videos. Last month we did a hilarious review with some friends of a rare malt liquor made by a brewery in Texas, and they only made 40 40-ounce bottles.
Very embarrassing.
They made 40 ounce bottles, and I was lucky enough to get my hands on one.
We should have to pay you to watch it.
What you should do, this is a game we used to play in college, is just get 2 of those 40s and tape them to your hands.
I think we talked
Over
about
40
that.
hands.
I don't know if we talked about it in the video, but we talked about that.
We should mention that the video is extra funny because we had, after the podcast where we were consuming beer, we had a beer tasting with some craft beer nerd friends, and at the end of the beer tasting, we reviewed a rare malt liquor with like 8 people. So the video is very funny, and if you subscribe, you get to see stuff like that.
And Georgia Beer Company's all over social media, I imagine, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, tell us about that.
So we've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, believe it or not. So if you want to contribute to kind of our
For
design.
the ladies.
For the ladies. If you want to contribute to our...
I've been known to pin.
To our...
That's not true. Is that what it's called, pinning?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've been known to pine. I've been known to pin.
I don't know.
It's a great way for us to
Throw
kind
me
of...
under the bus there, Chris.
It's called pinning.
Thank you.
As
there
of-
we go.
As of today.
We'll edit that right together.
But it's a good way for us to kind of plan the interior design
Very.
because that's something that a brewery has to think about,
Awesome.
So, so everything, if you just search Georgia Beer Company or Georgia Beer Co., any of that should get you in the right direction.
Very good.
And for us, make sure to subscribe on iTunes and leave us a review. If you like what we're doing, give us 5 stars. If you don't like what we're doing, just don't review.
And like I said, when I went to Craft on Draft, a few people were there. Tell us what you want. Tell us what you like. Tell us what we can do better. We're really trying to do it for everybody. I know there was a guy from Douglas there. We want to branch out. We're going to talk about where we're going next time. And so we really want to make this South Georgia's beer podcast, and so that's why we're here, and that's why we're doing what we're doing, because we love beer just like you do. So thank you so much for listening.
Speaking of which, our next podcast will be about Thomasville. We are hoping, and we have a special guest. We haven't confirmed a date with them yet, so we don't want to make the announcement yet. But long story short, it's some guys that are hoping to open the first craft brewery in Thomasville. And so they'll hopefully be our guests next month, and we'll talk about our favorite Thomasville beer.
That sounds like some potential collaborations there.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
And thank you so much, Chris, for coming on, and thank you everybody for listening.
Yes.
This has been Antebrewum. Thanks for our sponsors, 5 Points, Daniel Opal. Check us out, and cheers.
Cheers.
Drink
Cheers.
responsibly. Fiesta responsibly.
Fiesta responsibly.
All right, we'll see you all
Peace
later.
out.